My dearest family of learners, a big welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you very much for joining this wonderful Learning Bite session. You know, every time you tune up to a session like that, I personally feel that you are on a progressive journey to become a better version of yourself. And when you're learning something new, you become much more stronger, wiser, and knowledgeable. So, a big welcome to you once again. We are going to have a great time today learning a very interesting, amazing skill. If you're excited, please type in the comment box and say excited. All right, that's amazing. You know what? Let me ask you a question. Do you know what happened when a tortoise and a rabbit started a race? I know you do remember that story, isn't it? My dear friends, today's session is very exciting. It is storytelling. How can you become a great storyteller so that when you're talking to people, you're more impactful, more convincing, and more impressive? How many of you are excited to become more impactful, convincing, and impressive? Everyone, right? So today's program is going to help you become a great storyteller. My dear friends, one of the greatest movie editors and writers and directors of all times, Ed Sebald, he once said, "Tell me a fact and I will learn. Tell me a truth and I will believe. But tell me a story and it will live in my heart forever." My dear friends, when you hear a story, you have a very deeper connection with that. Here's something exciting coming your way. Today, we're going to learn some great tools on how you could become a great storyteller. But before I share that with you, don't you think ever since we were young, we are so used to listening to great stories, right? So what are stories? Stories are series of events narrated to entertain us, influence us, or to motivate people around us. It is a wonderful tool to convince people. You know what story does? Story helps you make a point very impactfully. Story helps you connect your audience to you much more deeply. A story evokes an emotion in people, leading to an action, accelerates action in the listeners. Yeah, it also helps you build a very deeper emotional connection with the topic that you're presenting. And eventually, it is helping you every time when you're talking with a story to convince people much more impactfully and easily. You know, the way I look at story is this. Let's say I have a point to share with you. What I'm going to do is, if I share a point with you with a story, it is more impactful. Take an example. Let's say there is a manager who's trying to convince his team member to take up a new project. Okay, let's say the team member's name is Kapil. So the manager says, "Hey Kapil, how are you doing?" "I'm doing good, sir." "Well, Kapil, you've been a great performer for many years, and I have a very interesting project for you. I know this is going to be a little complex and difficult, but you can do it. All right? Are you interested in taking it up?" Well, that doesn't sound very convincing because he did not use a story. Well, if you use a story, it really builds up a lot of strength around. And I'm going to share with you how it can do wonders for you. And I'm going to share with you, with the help of a story, on if the manager has to speak to his team member Kapil for the second time and he takes support of a story, how impactful it is going to be. Let's experience together. So my dear friends, I'm going to share with you a story. Now it's the story of a wonderful family of three, mom, dad, and a little boy of 10 years of age. And there was summer vacations announced, and the boy was very excited because the family had planned to go on a vacation to the grandpa's home. The grandpa's home was beautiful. So they finally arrive at the grandpa's home. It was beautiful, lush green. It had a huge, amazing greenery everywhere. Lovely flowers and trees and whatnot. It had a beautiful swimming pool. It had a lovely place for birds to come and enjoy. It had a beautiful place for people to really have a lovely view of the mountain. It was a fantastic destination to be. You know, it was just beautiful. It was amazing. So the kids always loved going to the grandpa's place. It was fantastic. Now, so this young boy, excited boy, goes to the grandpa, gives him a hug and says, "Grandpa, I'm so happy to be here with you." And grandpa says, "Son, welcome, welcome. It's your home. I was missing you a lot. You know, I'm so happy you're here finally." And then this little boy asks the grandpa and says, "Grandpa, when I grow up, I want to become really, very successful. Tell me one tip. Tell me, what do you think I should be doing to become more successful?" The grandfather smiles and says, "Okay, well, I have a very interesting idea for you, but let's go shopping first." He says, "Okay, sure." So they go shopping on a motorcycle. The grandpa had a Enfield Bullet, a wonderful motorcycle. So he sits behind and they get to the market and they get to a nursery. All right. And they get to a nursery and they buy two saplings, two small little plants. And they get back home and they decide to plant these saplings in two different places. So the grandpa says, "Son, We would like to plant one sapling in a pot and we'll keep it inside, okay, in our home, very close to the TV screen next to it, okay, so that you can see that growing. Yeah, he says, okay. And the next sapling we're going to plant outside in the garden, in the soil. All right. Excited young boy says, okay, let's get going. So they both together plant the sapling, they get a pot, they put the one right there and keep it safely inside. And they take the other one and they plant it outside in the soil right there with other trees. So the sapling is planted and they have a great time. They enjoy the holidays. And the little boy says, Grandpa, the holidays are going to end, but you haven't answered my question as yet. He says, you know what, son? When you grow up, let these saplings give us an answer. Let it be a surprise, surprise. When you visit me again after, say, 5 years or 10 years, we will have an answer. He says, okay, I'm excited and curious. And says the son, you know what, Grandpa? I look forward to the answer. Grandpa gives a hug and says, sure, why not? Guess what happens? 10 years later, when this little boy visits the grandpa once again, here's a surprise. The grandpa, after welcoming this young boy, asks a question and says, son, do you remember when you were young, we planted two plants. One we planted outside, second we planted inside. Would you like to go and check them out? And would like to see which of the two has grown faster and furthermore and really higher? They say, yes, okay, sure. So they get inside and they first show him the plant kept inside the drawing room, the living area. And the plant had grown a little well. You know, it looked fantastic. It looked amazing right there. And it had grown on a little pot there. And then they decide to go on the plant outside. And guess what? To the surprise of this little boy, he was shocked to see that the plant outside was now a towering tree. It was huge. It was magnificent. It was big. And they were really happy to see these two plants. And they had flowers, but the plant outside had more flowers. It was more stronger. It had its root deeper in the soil. So the young boy asks this grandpa and says, Grandpa, tell me, why do you think the one outside grew up bigger and larger and taller than the one inside? Because the inside one had a lot of care available. You know, it was looked after really well. Why did this not grow as big, as beautiful as the one outside? The grandpa says, you know what, my son? The one outside had to fight out its challenges all by itself. The one outside had to find ways to grow all by itself. The one outside had a very tough beginning. The one outside came out of its comfort zone and became more powerful, more impactful, more effective. The one inside stays in the comfort zone, protected environment, continued the same treatment, the same support that we gave every single day. And that's the reason why, because it did not take a lot of risk. The one outside took a lot of risk. It was able to grow much faster, much better, much effectively. You know what? That's the learning from the message. You know, son, I want to tell you today, there are two kinds of choices you can make in your life. One, you choose to be in the comfort zone where there is a protected environment and everything is looked after. You do the same thing repeatedly. You don't take new risks in your life. You are kind of saying no to adventure. You would not be able to unleash your true potential unless you go outside. You do something which you have never tried before. You try and do something much better than before. You try and experience yourself in a situation which is not very comforting. That path chooses you, and that path makes you more and more successful. Be it in business or in life, if you continue staying in the comfort zone, in the same routine kind of a style you work, you will not be able to achieve massive success because you're not going to unleash your true potential. And many a times when you move out of the comfort zone, that's the time you learn how to fight adversity and you explore your latent talents. And that's the time you realize you become much more successful like the tree outside. So this is the meaning of moving out of the comfort zone. Great things never come from comfort zone. And success is always outside the comfort zone. When you try something new, you have better chances of becoming successful. Remember, when you move outside the comfort zone, you face challenges. But challenges make you stronger, not sicker. You get inspired, not tired. You get better, not bitter. And that's what it does. So now, this story that I said will have more meaning and more impact for couples manager when he's talking to a couple. Similarly, when you're sharing a story and you're using story as a mechanism to put your message across to people, you can share a story with your family to inspire them before you say, give a message. You can back up your story when you're talking to a customer. And probably you can have a customer more inspired. You can inspire your boss a little bit and convince him with the help of a story. You can inspire people in your family, your teams with stories. Extraordinary leaders are known for inspiring people effectively with the help of great stories. And here is why stories really help. You see, imagine if you're a farmer and you would like to sow some seeds. But if you're sowing seeds on an unprepared soil, the seeds will not grow. When you sow seeds on prepared soil, the soil supports the seed and the seed grows and becomes a beautiful plant and so on. The point is, you sharing a story is a preparation of a particular ground for yourself to make a point. And then when you make a point, after you have shared a story, it grows, it gets the value that it expects, and it eventually helps you achieve what you want to achieve in life. So therefore, storytelling is one of the most amazing mechanisms to help you become more successful. Now the question is, how can you become a great storyteller? Do you like the story I said? If you like it, say yes. Okay, now, how can you become a great storyteller? Here are my 5 amazing tips to make you a great storyteller. All right, let's get started. The 5 C's to a great story. What is the first thing that I did in the story today? The first thing I did was I introduced the characters to you. I said there's a family of 3 that decide to go to grandpa's place. So the first thing is you beautifully explain the characters in the story. And then you set the context and they get to a lovely, beautiful grandpa house, which was full of greenery all over. All right. And then the next part, you have to really make sure the next part is important. The next part says there was a question that the boy said. There was a question that the boy asked. He says, Grandpa, I would like to become more successful. So there has to be some challenge, some thought. All right. So you plant that thought. And that's exactly what the story did here when I shared the story with you. And then after that, the story must have a great climax. So what it was and what it became later. The tree, remember the tree? How amazing it grew up. The one outside was so big, so tall, it was so amazing. And the one inside continued to be not as stronger as the one outside. And the last one is the learning from the story. That is called conclusion. You have to give meaning to your story by wrapping up very nicely and sharing with people on how effective it is for us to really, really come out of the comfort zone. Like I explained to you, with a lot of ideas around it. So you really have to practice all of this. And when you practice, do me a favor, rehearse, rehearse, and rehearse. Rehearsal has got no substitute. A well-rehearsed story is much more impactful than an unrehearsed story. So rehearse really well before you empower people, your audience, with the story. So we learned 5 different tips. Let's revise together. The first one is called character. The second is called context. The third is called challenge. Then there's a climax in the story and a conclusion, the learning from the story. I would like to congratulate you for completing this program. I want to wish you all the best in life. If you like this workshop, friends, as you know, my name is Ashish. You can connect with me on LinkedIn simply by typing Ashish Singh Star Consulting, and you can connect with me and share your inputs with me. You have a question, you can ask me a question, and I look forward to empowering you today and forever. My dear friends, it was a pleasure speaking to you. I wish you a very happy and fantastic time ahead. May God bless you. May you enjoy every success. Thank you once again for tuning up. Have a wonderful time ahead. God bless you all. Take care.